Welcome everybody, Frank DiMora here with the last Chronicle of Planet Earth, bringing you information for the 4th of May. And I'm going to get right into the information, and just to let you know that when you go to my website, you'll be able to click to every one of the links that I've given to you today, and you will also be able to download my book for free, and you'll be able to get there by this link right here, BibleProphecyMan.com. So let's get right into it, where you see that there's been a lot of books out, there's been a lot of information out circling around the United States, how the United States is declining. And many of my posts, I've been writing about how America is declining. As a matter of fact, since the latter part of 2007, I've been warning that you are going to see hundreds of thousands of people lose their jobs in America over the months, and this is exactly what we have been seeing. So there's been a lot of news about it, a lot of news circulating that the dollar's going to die, and one of the reasons why we believe this to be the case is because the United States, who was the superpower, and now they're losing their power. You'll see that from all the books that are out. And I believe that the reason why the United States has to lose her power is because she's going to make way for the revived Roman Empire, of which Jesus talks about in the book of Revelation, and also Daniel talks about the last days, how God had showed him this vision that the Roman Empire, revived Roman Empire, would return again in the last days, and we are already there. We're seeing that development now. And so you'll see this if you read the Bible in chapter 2 and chapter 7 of the book of Daniel. You will see the outlining of every world power that was shown to Daniel, one after another in succession, that would defeat each other all the way up until the time that Jesus Christ arose. Now in the book of Daniel, Daniel shows us a picture of, if you will, this colossal figure from this dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, the king. And of course Daniel interpreted this dream to the king, and he was actually showing him what God told him, that Daniel was shown that Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon, and when he was finished with his kingdom, there would be another kingdom that would come in and defeat him, and that would be the Medo-Persian. And you'll also find out in the book of Daniel that there was metals, and you'll see that Babylon was get symbolic of the gold, and the silver, which was degrading, was Medo-Persian. And then Alexander came along and he defeated the Medo-Persian, and it was brass, so again degrading. And then Roman Empire came, and that is what we see, the iron, the legs. And there was divisions, the western side of the old Roman Empire and also the eastern side of the old Roman Empire, which I cover in my book. And in the last days, the Lord showed Daniel that there was the feet of this figure, there was going to be 10 toes, and out of these 10 toes, there would be 10 kings. They're going to give their power over to the Antichrist, obviously coming from the legs, the old Roman Empire. Not the United States. The United States was never in the book of Daniel. It's not in the book of Revelation. And you're really stretching to try to find that or make a case and point, because you cannot have a revived America if America never existed before in the past, first of all. Second of all, these nations are specifically outlined for the old Roman Empire, of which obviously the United States was never in. And so I want to thank the Clarence Larkin people there at his estate for allowing me to use the artwork. I love Clarence Larkin's work, and I want to thank him for that permission to use it. So now we're going to get into, since the western side of the old Roman Empire, as we see, is the European Union, which is already developed. And by the way, when you take a look at a map, you're going to see that the old Roman Empire, we see the exact same nations again in the European Union, the western leg of the old Roman Empire. Now, what I found very fascinating was, in this article, Ministers upon creation of the EU super president. And let me go right to this article for you. You will see in this article that some of the things I wanted to point out. Now, I don't have all the time in the world to do it here very, quickly. This is why I'm posting the link so that you can see it. But this is the man in charge right now of the European Union. He was elected the first president to house the entire European Union. This is the first time this has happened since Caesar Nero, by the way, who was the leader of the old Roman Empire. But we have something new coming into existence where they're creating a superposition, a super president's position for this European Union. What I found very interesting, I'm going to pull it up here for you, and I'll read it. It says, the other countries in the club are Austria, Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, and Spain. When you count them, obviously you're going to count 10 nations. Why is this so important? Well, the 10 nations, Jesus showed us that in the last days, as I just mentioned, the 10 kings that would be given their power and authority over to this incarnate Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to be incarnated with Satan. And so he's going to rule the revived Roman Empire. Now, if we start to see that there's going to be this superposition, then what does that tell you? Well, it should say, send up the red flag, because this is the western leg of the old Roman Empire, and it looks like they're going to the same kind of thing that the Lord is showing us in the scriptures. So that is something that we definitely want to pay very close attention to. All right, so now here's another thing that I wanted to show you, that we know that there's a new world order coming. Jesus shows us that in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. But I found it really interesting that there is a coin. Now, the coin that you're seeing here, I am going to show you that coin. We'll go right to it here, and you'll see this is on, I believe it's on eBay, right? Hopefully you'll be able to see this. But don't worry about it, because you have the link at my site. So when you get to my site, you'll be able to do all this good stuff. But this is what I found very interesting, was the name of the coin. And when you look at eBay, look at this. It says New World Order, 10 world regions. It's almost like the Lord is just in our face, showing us that there is going to be fulfillment of prophecy. And of course, we see in this symbolism here of this new world order, the eye, the all-seeing eye. So it's very, to me, that, like I said again, it's very interesting what we're seeing, because we do know at the end result, in the feet of this figure, which is coming, it will be 10 nations, and I believe that those nations, if there's regions, that they'll end up being from the old Roman Empire, because that's what Jesus told us, a revived Roman Empire. Now, here is something else of interest, because in the scriptures, the Lord told us in Daniel chapter 2, verses 41 through 43, essentially, when you go and read it at my site, I'll just give you a brief synapse. The Lord told us that they were not going to mix well together, the nations that would be coming together in the last days. They were going to mix like iron and clay. They don't mix very well. They're not going to hold together. And the European Union, of those 27 nations that we see, they are doing exactly what we see in the scriptures. So it's another red flag to be watching for. Now in the article it says the move over will give further momentum to the Daily Express hugely popular crusade for Britain's withdrawal from the EU. In other words, what they're saying in this article, when you read the entire article, that there's a process in the making right now where the leaders, Rumpy, one of the leaders, and Barrasso, this is Barrasso, who's one of the EU leaders, they're trying to get rid of Great Britain. Great Britain was a strong nation. We see this in the scriptures. There'll be strong and there'll be weak nations. And this is one of the reasons why I'm pointing this out, because it does draw a red flag. Now, what I found really interesting, I'll let you go to the article and read the whole article, but what I did is put up the main portion that I wanted you to read, because it is a mind blower. It says, Troy backbench, the MP Douglas Carswell said, it doesn't matter how you arrange the offices, these technocrats, that they are useless at arranging our lives for us, and they are not elected, so they have no legitimacy. And my worry is that the president will end up having the charisma of Van Rompuy, who the picture I just showed you before, and the economic management skills of Barrasso, who is right here. That's who he's talking about. Euro MP Paul Nuttall of the UK Independence Party said, this is truly ridiculous idea that must never be allowed to happen. Now get this, it sounds as if they are trying to go back to the days of the old Roman Empire. How right they are. I mean, how right they are. I can't say it enough. When you see the scriptures, the old Roman Empire, that is exactly what is happening. And when I read this, I thought, geez, you know, if the people knew the word of the Lord and they read this, man, oh man, they would get down on their knees and just make their lives right with Christ, knowing that everything that the Lord has shown us is coming to pass. And it is in the news. And the problem is that people don't recognize it for what it is, because they don't know the word of the Lord. And so here you see a picture of Barack Obama. And what I put this up for now is because I'm showing you that the United States is in fact declining. You would have to be brain dead not to see this. You see it in the news, we see it in the stores, we see it in the economy. And what's happening in the United States is also taking an impact on other nations as well. And so here's a headline, 29.7 million people seek work. And I'm not going to go through all the articles because some of the articles are pretty long, but you'll get the gist of it, and at your own leisure this weekend you'll be able to read this information, because it is very, very interesting to say the least. Now, there are many other articles that I put in here with you that show you how many people have lost their jobs, and the labor force is shrinking. There is also a map or a pie here that shows us that the 86 million invisible unemployed in America. And this is unbelievable. I mean, you're talking about a second depression. We're just about there. And of course, I really believe that a depression, a chaos of the economic side, would generate so much chaos around the world that it would have a domino effect around the rest of the countries if America went down, that it could be one of the scenarios that I mentioned before that would propel this Antichrist from taking over. And so there's a bunch of articles there for you to read. Now, I will go into one of the articles for you. And you can see here, it says the labor force shrinks as the jobless swell disability ranks. It says this, the civilian labor forces shrank in April by 342,000 workers and remains low where it should be when the economy recovered started 34 months ago. And according to the data released Friday by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, had the labor force not declined, unemployment would have been 8.3% in April instead of 8.1% reported. In the same month, more than 225,000 workers applied for Social Security disability benefits and nearly 90,000 were enrolled, according to the new data from the Social Security Administration. And this is putting a huge, you see here, a huge burden on the United States. And just one of the other, if you will, picture a guy with a saw just at the Americans' legs sawing away, and pretty soon the national debt and everything else that's happening, including this kind of information, is going to bring down America's economy even worse and cause, we believe, it will cause a massive depression. And so there is another article that I wanted to show you that as soon as it comes up here, there's the statistic here. You'll see it says people not in labor force soar by 522,000. The labor force participation rate lowest since 1981. These are the things that I've been warning you about. And when you go to the site, you'll be able to read the graphs. You see what's happening here. The labor force participation rate here. And of course, you'll see the persons not in the labor force is climbing. This is all news showing us that America is declining in power. And it is well on its way to, when it goes, again, the Antichrist, I believe, will have more reason, if you will, for the world to be calling out this man to take care of the problems that the economy, the world economy at that time is going to have. And we're getting very, very close to it. Now there's another prophecy that is in Matthew chapter 24, verses 37 through 39. In this prophecy, when you get to my site, is where the Lord told us that our generation, the last days generation, would be as Noah's generation. Here's a picture where they believe that Noah's Ark is. And what happened during Noah's time, and what happened during, according to what the Lord tells us also in Luke chapter 17, where the Lord tells us that our generation was going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's linked to Noah and Lot. So when you know the characteristics that were going on during Lot's generation and Noah's generation, obviously, you'll know what kind of people we are going to be in the last days. And believe me, we have reached that point just about. And this is one of the major signs that the Lord is coming back soon. So just let me give you one little click of information showing that the signs of, you know, what they were doing. They were godless people. They didn't follow the Lord. They weren't following His words anymore. Of course, they had it. You know, they had a choice to follow God. They didn't choose the right path. And of course, this is what the Lord Jesus Christ warned us about. Now, here's just one example of many, many examples that I put in my book. And of course, this has to do with the marriage situation. Man marrying man, woman marrying woman. It says the following Episcopal Church likely to approve the liturgy blessing the same-sex relationships, as the Summer's Convention at Montrose congregation will be among the first to offer gay and lesbian couples this right. This Reverend Andy Dole announced this week. Now, Dole's bishop of the Texas diocese named at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church is the first in Houston, talking about Texas, Houston, Texas, to be allowed to offer the proposed ceremonies for same-sex covenants. Now, you can call yourself a man of God, but when you do not follow the word of the Lord, God knows what you really are, and He is going to call you out for what you really are. Now, I'm mentioning the fact about the same-sex marriages because homosexuality was running rampant, and we saw that in Sodom and Gomorrah, and we know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah, what the Lord did to Sodom and Gomorrah. He turned that into a fiery brimstone. and those that were the unrighteous people were wiped out. Now, why am I bringing this? Well, I'm not bringing this to hate anybody. I'm not saying that we're supposed to hate the same-sex people. I'm not saying that we're supposed to hate lesbians or the gays, because we're supposed to love all people, and we're supposed to pray and intercede that these people would come to realize the word of the Lord and how he wants the best for them. And to say that anyone who is saying that they hate gays or they hate lesbians, they are really not filled with the Holy Spirit of the love of the Lord and the compassion, because the Lord tells us in the scriptures he doesn't want anyone to perish. And so we need to continually to pray for these people, but above all, we need to be praying for those that are calling themselves men of God. Because when you start deviating from sound doctrine, which is another part of prophecy of the last days, where Timothy told us that in the last days men would not put up with sound doctrine, and obviously this is a case right here, case in point, what's going on in this Texas diocese that's going to be doing this. And so, another sign that we're very, very close to the Lord's second coming. Now, the prophecy sign here in Hosea, again, this is a prophecy that talks about how in the last days you're going to see that there was going to be deaths that would be coming to the birds, the beasts of the field, the birds and the fish dying. And in my book and in my site, my prophecy site, you will see all of the articles that I found over the years. I put them in there so that you can see every one of those, what's been happening with the killings of fish, birds just falling out of the sky, fish dying in many different parts of the world. And here's another one of those articles that just came out. And let me go to it so you can actually see this a little bit better here. You'll see it right here as it comes up. And this is the article, 50,000 fish found dead. Of course, this is where they found them, was in China. And they don't know why they're dying, but this is a scene that's been repeated over and over again in the news for the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm finding that I'm adding these things, these news reports, more frequently. So let me go back to my site again. And now one of the other signs is that in Luke 21, verse 11, we see the sign of disease. Now there are many signs, obviously, in this, prophecy, but in verse 11 it says this: "And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines and pestilence," the diseases that he's talking about here. That's why I put it in the red. "And fearful sights and great signs there shall be from heaven." And so we've seen a lot of diseases come in the form of new diseases, mutating diseases. You probably heard some yourself. You may not have known that the Lord told us that one of the signs we should be looking for was the sign of diseases. But in my book, I outline, again, there's so much evidence and proof in my book that I'm showing you all the weird diseases that are coming up. And the diseases that were controlled once are coming back. They've mutated, and they're even harder to kill off now. But this whooping cough is one of the newest that came out in the news. It says Washington State is gearing up for one of the worst epidemics, and this is a word for that they're telling us, the whooping cough, pertussis, in nearly 70 years. It says also known as, here you go, the whooping cough, is a highly contagious bacterial infection that causes a nasty cough. And I've heard some kids coughing, and it just breaks my heart because they can't stop. It is particularly dangerous for young infants, and the public health officials have confirmed that 1,100 cases of whooping cough so far this year in the state. And thankfully, no deaths have been reported this year, but 20 infants have been hospitalized with the illness. This is only one of many, many signs. And of course, what I'm trying to do is show you different prophecies, because the Lord showed us and told us, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. And this is at the time that he said, when you shall see these things, look up, because your redemption draws nigh. Here again, prophecy signed in Matthew 24:6. The prophecy signed that if you listen, you're going to hear rumors of war. And of course, there's another one in the news today. I posted one yesterday. And this one has to do with Russia. Russia's top military officer has warned Thursday that Moscow would strike NATO. This is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's what that stands for. With missile defense sites in Eastern Europe before they're ready for action if the U.S. pushes ahead with deployment. A decision to use destructive force preemptively will be taken if the situation worsens. So here you go. One of the things that the Lord told us to look for, rumors of wars, and you have the Russian general doing, actually, he probably doesn't even know it. All he's doing is fulfilling part of prophecy. And again, here's a link to read the whole story if you'd like it. Now, here's another prophecy we see in this sign. First of all, there's actually two of them. Psalm 83, which is here. And I put up a map so that you could see it here, this map, or this photo. And it has all the list of the names of the countries who will be attacking Israel in the last days to try to wipe Israel off the face of the map. And we believe that this will be happening at a time when there is calling for peace and safety, as it says in 1 Thessalonians 5:3. When they're calling for peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them, and they shall not escape. That's what the Lord told us. And so we know that the peace process in the Middle East has fallen apart. It's not going anywhere. And we see the signs of this Psalm 83 war in junction with the failed peace process is going to bring another attack, and that attack eventually will fulfill the Psalm 83 prophecy. And of course, in the news today, the headline reads, the Palestinians renege on security ties with Israel, restore revolving door for terrorists. And when you read this article, the article will explain, you'll see it's a longer. You'll see it come up here in a second. When this article, let's get rid of this here for you so you can get up a little bit closer to it. But you'll see here that what I wanted to show you is that the Palestinians, the leaders for the Palestinians, are letting out the prisoners that the Palestinians had. There is another troubling symptom of the Palestinian backtracking on its war on terror. They have not only stopped arresting suspects of plotting terrorist attacks, and they're talking about terrorist attacks against Israel, they are opening the doors of their prisons to let detainees go free. This is being done gradually so as not to draw attention of Israel and U.S. security and intelligence services. Now, what's so important about this and why are they doing this now is because I believe that the Palestinians realize that they're going to need everyone that they can possibly get when they attack Israel with the rest of their allies. And I believe what better time to let their people go is to do it right now. And so this is one of the things that I've been looking for with the Palestinians, because the Palestinians are mentioned in that psalm as attacking the Israelis during the last days. Now there's been some other news also, and there is news that shows us that there's little conflicts that are continuing in Israel, and that the Muslims, the people in and around the areas of Israel, are attacking the Jews. And Israel keeps saying if they keep doing this, they're going to have to make a massive move. We saw this type of move take place in 2006 with the Operation Leadcast, when their armed forces went in to take out the those that were terrorists, to stop them from throwing in these rockets and missiles. And so here's two more articles showing you that the Muslims have went in and they burned some farmland from the Jews. And also here's another article that you'll see, headline: the Muslim throw rocks at the school bus with the Jewish children. So they continue to antagonize the Israeli government, and one of the reasons they're doing this is because they're never going to let up giving hope for recapturing East Jerusalem. And they know when a war begins that they're going to have to get all of their Arab brothers, who are mentioned, by the way, in the Psalm 83, to attack with them, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So the news that we're seeing right now is just a prelude to what is coming. So let me just now take just a few minutes to tell you what's been going on with my ministry in Africa, because Jesus is winning souls in Africa. Now, I have a very, very dear brother, very close to me, who's working in the ministry with me. And he is partnered up with me, and we are doing whatever we can to help anybody. And recently there has been another Last Chronicles mission trip in Kenya. You'll see the information here, and I wanted to show you what was going on with the ministries, so that you would understand why I am so pumped up about the ministry and what God is doing in the ministry. I'm very, very thankful to the Lord what He is doing. Now, Brother Timothy had written me email me today. And this is the email that he sent to me. And it says, I just got a good report for the 5-day crusade with Pastor Titus and Pastor Joshua. And again, this is it got cut off a little bit here, but it was in Kenya, which this particular place that they went to was actually in the northwest Kenya, Mount Elgon area near the Uganda border. Now, many were saved. Get this. Many were saved, and this is what brings joy to my heart. Many were saved during the services which were held outdoors in the town market area. Now, I've attached some photos of the Bibles being distributed door to door, evangelism, and your books being distributed. And then he says, and I don't know why he wrote me, because he knows I continually pray, but it says, please continue to pray for this church. Will grow greatly as a result of the crusade. And we've been seeing that happening in Africa. Now, he sent me some pictures. Here's Pastor Titus and Pastor Joshua. And you see these people here in this part of Kenya. They have my books. They have the Bibles that we sent them. They're holding up. And, of course, I always encourage to please get into the Word of God. Now, one of the things that I mentioned is that the book that I wrote has been a real blessing. The Lord actually told me to write this book. It was the only one that I'm ever going to write. He gave me orders never to write another book. And always trust Him, and He would do whatever He was going to do with this information. And it is driving people when they know what is happening. See, the people in Africa are not privy like the other countries are, like the United States, the countries that are not the third world countries. People who live in areas like this, they don't get the news like we do, and they don't have access to the news, so they don't know what's going on. And when they got a hold of my book and they see what's going on as I outline and give them all the documents and the evidence and the proof showing them, hey, look, this is what's going on, they're opening their hearts to God and they're getting saved. And this has been a joy to my heart. Now, here's a picture of Pastor Titus and Pastor Joshua. You'll see the van that we got for them. You see the Chronicles outreach team here. And they're going all over the place, spreading the word, handing out the Bibles, handing out the books. And here is one of the pictures that you see of pastors handing out my books along with the Bibles. And this is, every time I see this, I'm blown away. I am totally blown away by what the Lord is doing. And here we see this picture. I love this, where Pastor Joshua is handing a Bible, one of the Bibles that we send, to somebody that they've been engaged with as they're going door to door preaching the word of the Lord. This is what it's all about, people, right here. Giving, doing what we can, spreading the word of the Lord, not sitting down in some pew at church, just listening to a pastor and doing nothing with your life for Jesus, but actually getting out, doing the work. And I pray for these men here to continue to do so. Now, this is another picture, if you will. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it with my screen, but here's another picture. You see him taking the Bible, and this is truly, truly a blessing. And I believe this is the last picture. But you'll see, now look at it. If you were at my end and you wrote this book, and you heard what Jesus told you about what he was going to do with it if you obeyed him, and you see people in different countries holding my book up like you see in this picture, you know that there is no way I could stop the ministry, because the Lord is blessing me beyond measure. And today, let me tell you, I got down on my knees and I thank the Lord for what he's been doing. People are being saved because of the work that I did, driving these people, driving them to the Bible and to study, and to drive them into churches where they're learning from pastors that we're supporting. This is what it's all about. This is the work of Jesus Christ. And let me just say this. Not one of these people who have this book paid a dime or paid a cent for it. Jesus has made it so that everybody has been able to get a book, whether it's on disc, whether it's on the internet, whether it's hard copy, in their hands for free. And for somebody who's looking at it now, and of course I've been doing this now, my ministry for 36 years, the book, when the Lord told me to write the book in 1993, it took 4 years to put the first book together. And from 1993 to now, when I look to see what the Lord has done with this work, because I've been faithful to his call, there is no amount of words that I can give to you how I feel. I'm overwhelmed. I am so very, very humbled at what Jesus has done in the ministry. And all I can ask is that if the Lord shows you anything that you want to help, just email Timothy, my brother Timothy, and tell him you'd like to be part of the active work going out and what we're doing in Africa and many other parts of the world as well. And we even have this book that's going in China, and people from China are accepting the Lord Jesus Christ. But I don't say much about it, where it is in China, because we have people underground that are doing this, and it's been a blessing. So I want to thank everybody who's been at my site, everybody who's been praying for me, because obviously your prayers are working. The Lord is demonstrating that if we follow him, he will do what he told me that he would do. He's blessing people, he's bringing in souls, and of course there's great joy in knowing this. Thank you again for allowing me to come into your home and to show you what's going on in the news. But most of all, let me say this. I am very grateful to you all that you allow me to come into your home. But if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, please, like they're preaching Jesus on this platform, and these people accepted Jesus Christ, I'm praying you will as well. God bless.